Good evening. Thank you very, very much for being here. It's just overwhelming. We live in an amazing community, and to see you all here tonight, giving up your time when I'm sure your kids have activities or baseball or track or softball or arts and drama, I just really appreciate you being here. I'm Brandy Tyree, and I have the privilege of coordinating what's called the Missoula Underage Substance Abuse Prevention Work Group. And we're basically just a bunch of community professionals and experts and leaders and parents that for quite a while have been having the discussion about underage drinking and substance abuse. And we want to hear from you. So I think you'll notice right away that the stage is empty. There's no speakers, there's no panel, it's just us. So it's a little hard to imagine because we're not sitting in a circle, but just imagine we're in your living room. We're at your dining room table. We're at the water cooler. We're not texting each other. We're not emailing each other. We're just going to talk. So with that, if you don't mind turning off your cell phone, that would be great. Like I said, this is just going to be a conversation. One of my favorite quotes is by who I think was a great leader and a great president, JFK. And he said, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." And I think that's why we're all here tonight, because we're trying. And we're trying every day in our own way. And we'd like to hear how you try at home, at work, to help reduce the underage drinking and substance use that we have in Missoula. So real quick, I just would like to introduce two very amazing gentlemen that their departments work so hard to keep us safe, and I so appreciate their time and energy. They are amazing in what they do for this community. And so they're just going to give us a few brief words, and then we'll move on from there. So Chief Muir, Missoula City Police Department, if you would like to go first.
Well, thank you, Brandy, and thanks everyone for being here. I was just telling Peter Christian how encouraging it is to come here this evening and see such a good turnout. Thank you all for being here with us. It is encouraging in the sense that we in law enforcement have, and other affiliated professions, the partners in our professional fields, have for a long time now been trying to focus our efforts in ways to effect change, to make a difference in what we see in trends in our community. And while we aren't here tonight to sort of give a spiel, what I want to say is simply that it is reassuring to me to know that our efforts are paying off, because I can tell you 15 years ago I could barely fill a small portion of the library, and when we did fill that small portion of the library, it was with a group of parents who were upset with the police over enforcing drinking laws. So this is very, very meaningful to me to see the change that we have had over the course of my career, and quite frankly, it's thanks to folks like you. I am here tonight, as probably most of the other leaders and professionals here, to hear what we've been doing that interests you, that we can get you involved in, because quite frankly, these problems that we are here tonight to talk about and to find out and discuss what can we do, are problems that go well beyond the means of the 100 men and women of the Missoula Police Department and the men and women of the Sheriff's Office and all of the other professionals that we work with in our community. And so having you folks here as partners means an awful lot to us. So thank you again for being here. And I'm going to introduce Sheriff Carl Ibsen, who also has a few words, I believe.
Even fewer than yours. Thanks for being here. You know, I think for the 40 years, yeah, shy a few months of 40 years I've been doing this, we've dealt with the tragedy that drinking and driving and impaired drivers cause on or provide for the community. This is very encouraging. As the chief said, years and years ago, if we had a meeting, it was because people were mad at us because we were enforcing the laws. We're really appreciative of you all being here. We can't fix it. You know, all the cops in the world aren't going to be able to fix the problem without the community's help and the parents' help. Brandy, thanks to you for all the work on doing this. My goal in this whole thing is that although I'm not sure we can ever completely eradicate the problem, I would really like to see none of you folks get the message that I've had to deliver for many years to families, that Mark has had to, and I really hope you never have to get the message that they delivered to me 2.5 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I guess I'm just so overwhelmed. As we remember that we're sitting in our living room, we're going to remember that we're family because we're a community, and this affects all of us, and we love our kids. We're going to remember that in one way or another, we probably can relate to each other. Maybe this isn't completely a family dinner, but this is our family dinner. So just keep that in mind, that we want everyone to be heard. This problem is all of ours. So although you might have specific questions to one department, it's not any one department's fault or any one agency's fault. So we just want to remember to be respectful, I guess, tonight, and we'll do our best to get to your questions, your thoughts. If you have something to add with the question that was asked, we would love to hear that. We have two wonderful, amazing students from Frenchtown High School who have helped start a Students Against Destructive Decisions group, and they are going to be roaming the mic. So just raise your hand, and we'll get to you. We'll try to get to you quickly. We're very, very lucky tonight to have a man that not only is amazing at making sure everybody's voice is heard, but he also deeply cares about this topic and has been talking about it for many, many years. Peter Christian is here tonight to be moderating this, and he'll get the mic in just 1 second. You can come up with me.
I hear and obey.
So before we get started, I thought it might be interesting just to share a few statistics with you. Oh, I practiced that. One thing that we really believe in is that it's important to talk factually. So I think if you ask young people in Missoula, they'll tell you that 90 to 95% of their friends drink. And really only about 41% of our kids drink underage in Missoula. So we have a lot to succeed. We have a lot to be proud of. And we have a lot of kids that are making great decisions. And we have some others that just need a little bit of help. So a couple things that I find interesting is, of course, we're talking about alcohol mainly because it is the #1 reasons for injuries, sexual assault, death for teenagers. The other thing that I find interesting is that the second stat, 57% of our kids drink before the age of 15. So we're not talking about your senior in high school. You know, we're talking about young kids. And I know a colleague in the room, and many of you would say young kids with very developing brains that alcohol and other drugs aren't so good for. The other interesting thing, 13% of those kids by the age 11. And I don't know about some of you in the room, but I have one of those. And it terrifies me. Terrifies me. So those are 5th and 6th graders. So again, this isn't an underage drinking problem that starts at age 18. Just a few more quickly. 34% of Missoula kids get their alcohol from a family member. So that's why we're here, with or without your permission. Do you know what's in your liquor cabinet? So This isn't something that just other people are engaged in. It's something that our families are engaged in. 25% of Missoula teens binge drink. We care about that for all the reasons that you do. Binge drinking typically doesn't lead to anything productive or safe behavior. I'm sure it's probably not too much of a surprise that now in our community, kids use marijuana more than they use tobacco. So shout out to tobacco prevention. You've done a wonderful job. But that's been an interesting trend in the last couple of years. And then lastly, because this will be another topic maybe tonight, that 11% of our kids report using a narcotic prescription drug that wasn't given to them by their doctor. I think most of you can probably guess that they're getting that at home from a family member or from a friend. So that's why we say substance use, because this isn't just about alcohol, but of course that's the substance of choice typically in our community. So we've heard the facts. This is the most we're going to talk up here. Remember, we're just a family. We want to hear what you have to say, questions, thoughts. We're here to support you tonight and listen, and we really, really appreciate you being here. And I will probably say it too many times, but this happened because of so many amazing people, and I just really value you and appreciate all that you do for our community. So Peter, the mic's finally yours.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Brandy. Before we get started, I want to introduce some folks. We're not going to have them speak, just going to have them stand and be recognized. Brandy and her crew have gathered together a whole group of community experts, folks in law enforcement, medical community, universities, schools, teenager or students, you name it, they're all here. And they have taken time out of their very busy schedules to be with us tonight to be a resource for you. Like I said, they're not here to make speeches or whatever, but if you have a question that involves their area of expertise, they are here to answer that question for you. So I just want to introduce them, if they would stand or raise their hand or whatever. Brad Giffen, who is a captain with the Sheriff's Department, is right back there. And that's okay, you don't have to applaud. We're going to go through this very quickly because we want to get to your questions. District Court Judge Brenda Desmond is here. Brenda, if you just stand, there you go. Of course, we know Carl's here. Dr. Alex Apostle, who is staying. Thank you, Alex. All right. For the Superintendent of Schools, Fred Van Valkenburg, the County Attorney, is here, right there. We also have Gary Hendricks of Missoula City Attorney's Office. And Glenn Welsh from Youth Court is here as well. Glenn, where are you? Okay, thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that. We have Gene Curtis, one of our county commissioners, who's here. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate that. And we have Jim Nugent, who is our city attorney. He is here as well. So we have the county attorney and the city attorney. We have Karen Orzak, who is a justice of the peace. We've already heard from Mark Muir, the police chief. We have Sue Wilkins, who is from Missoula Correctional Services. Thank you, Sue. Teresa Branch from the University of Montana. Teresa, thank you. Associate Dean of Students. John Odlin, Justice of the Peace. John Odlin is here with us. And John Wilkins, also from the City Council, is here as well. So as you can tell, folks, if you've got a question, chances are someone here is going to be able to answer it. Now, a couple of quick ground rules. There are no Republicans here. There are no Democrats here. There are no Libertarians here. This is not a political deal. This is a community meeting, and we want to hear from you. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have, what we're really looking for is answers. If you have an idea of how we can stem the flow of all that's been happening in this community, Gary was just mentioning that the number of arrests for DUI is already surpassed that of last year at this time. And so something needs to be done, and we need to do it, okay? Not the police, not the sheriff, not the law and order folks, it's us. And so what I'd like to do is open the floor to you folks. If you guys want to, you got the microphone? Okay, so let's raise a hand. If you would like to speak, you don't have to leave your seat. We will bring the microphone to you. So if you have a question or comment, this lady in the green sweater, go right ahead. Now, if you would, please remember there are several hundred of us here, so let's be brief and to the point. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is
Just
Kristen.
your first name. Go ahead.
My name's Kristen.
Okay,
and
Kristen.
I serve on the board of directors for Missoula's Challenge. And I just wanted to let everybody know a little bit about what we're trying to do. And my personal feeling about what our real goal is to try and get young people excited and passionate about living drug and alcohol free and making healthy and responsible choices. And the way we're hoping to do that is to offer scholarships. We're hoping to do that starting next spring to students in Missoula County Public Schools, and to show, for the kids to show that they're dedicated to this cause and to living a healthy lifestyle. We are asking them to take the challenge, which asks that they will not drink until before age 21. They won't use drugs, they won't drive with someone or ride with someone who's been drinking, and they won't drink and drive. And kids who take that pledge will be eligible to be considered for a scholarship. And that's my personal feeling, is that that's where we really need to aim, is getting young people excited about this and getting a culture change where the cool thing to do is to be part of this positive change in our society. And we have some brochures on our table out there, and our website, Missoula's Challenge, would tell you more about it. So we're really excited to get young people on board and offer some scholarships.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. Good job. Okay, anybody else? Just raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. This lady right there. Go ahead. Just need your first name and go ahead.
My name is Cassie. I just lost my son on Hillview in that accident that happened March 4th. And the big education for me has been accepting the fact that it's the parent's responsibility. And so to me, I think what we need to focus on as well is getting the parents educated on the underage drinking and what it does to their brain, and you know, finding a way for the parents to understand how important it is to get the alcohol away from these kids, and finding other ways to entertain our kids and focus their energy. So that's really what I'm coming out of this with from my experience.
Thank you for being here, and so sorry for your loss. Now, to address that, I know we have here from St. Patrick Hospital, I believe it's Catherine Cosma. Catherine, are you here? Where are you? Could you come down forward, please? Because one of the things that if you could take the microphone to her, that'd be great. Because what we're talking about here is what alcohol does to the brain of a young person. So could you kind of address that a little bit, please?
Which part? There's a lot to it.
Yeah, well, just start from the beginning and just take a minute to briefly hit the tops of the trees.
You know, it's amazing how the younger they start, the more damage is done. And when it impacts the brain, especially that frontal lobe, judgment and reasoning goes out the door. Then we hit the limbic system, so then it impacts the emotional and memory components of the brain, which then, as we all know, for children, especially teenagers, that everything is 10 times as emotional as it is. So decisions become impaired, behaviors become impaired, and then it can become permanently damaged. And we're seeing a lot of adults now in their 20s and 30s that are beginning to have difficulties with mood disorders, anxiety disorders, all kinds of problems based on and because of behaviors that occurred in their early teens. But research is coming out. It's exploding, because about 20 years ago, more research was done on the impacted wisdom tooth than on addiction and mental illness. So we're just now starting to see a lot of research come out, and I have a feeling that in about 20 years we'll be pretty surprised.
How much alcohol does it take to really permanently affect a young person's brain?
Binge drinking is probably the worst. Anything 2 to 3 drinks, 2 to 3 times a week, more than that, can definitely impact the brain, if not more. And when they're young, no alcohol. It's amazing how the younger they are, even the smallest amounts can impact the brain.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next question or comment? Just raise your hand. Yes, this gentleman right here in the sweatshirt right behind you there. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You go ahead, you're there.
All right, my name's Stephen Milhouse. My brother and his wife Dana lost their 22-year-old daughter last February. What I want to talk about right now, I'll keep it really quick and short, is a couple of ideas. One, I see signs all over the place, billboards, drink responsibly. You see it on TV, you see it on the boxes of beer, et cetera, but it's not defined. What does drink responsibly mean? I think that's something that we could do to put out there. Define responsible drinking and educate children as parents. The other idea I had, not necessarily related to underage drinking, but the chief and sheriff were talking about they can't police all that goes on and that the community has to be involved. And one of the things I was thinking about was something similar to a neighborhood watch where people from the community in teams of 2 go into the bars. Just walk through, right? It's kind of an awareness that there's people watching the bars who are serving and may be A, serving underage individuals, and B, serving excessively, because they're supposed to stop serving when an individual is overly, inebriated. So I don't know if that's a possibility. It's just an idea. Thanks.
Thank you, and again, sorry for your loss. Yeah, there was a gentleman back there with his hand up with a sweatshirt. Go ahead, please, sir.
Well, my name is Josh. I represent the City Life Community Center. And I just had a quick question. I know that one of the issues that we have lots of events for teenagers at City Life all year long. And one of the issues that we have is simply getting the word out to parents about activities and things that are happening at City Life, but also other places. And my question is there any community partner right now that has a parent webpage, a Missoula Parents webpage, that would be available for parents to, even on Facebook, just add as a friend to see posted events that are happening? Are there current web pages out there? I know that each one of our entities and organizations, we all have ways of addressing this ourselves and directly addressing this and have programs and activities that are amazing. And we all have Facebook pages that hopefully everybody in this room likes. But as far as reaching parents, that is one of the biggest obstacles that we have as an organization. And I think as a community of partners, it takes some education from parents to help us get over the hump of getting the word out about these activities and what all of our organizations are doing to provide those things. So I'm just curious if anybody is here that has that resource already available, where it's a collaborative, like I said, webpage of all entities involved in all activities that are happening. Just that's my question I'm throwing.
Yeah,
out
it'd be helpful if we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. Because I know that makeitmissoula.com is huge when it comes to events, things that are happening around here. But I think I'm a member of a rather large media organization called Town Square Media, and there are several other media organizations represented here, television, radio, newspaper, whatever. I think there isn't a reason why we couldn't all get together and put together something like that could be centrally located and easy for people to reach, that wouldn't be proprietary, but it would be open for everybody. Okay.
I think, underage kids.
Right. Now, there's somebody over here that, yes, ma'am, go ahead. Could we get the microphone over to her? There you go. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand raised earlier. I apologize. Go right ahead. And we just need your first name, please, ma'am.
Connie, I'd like to thank you for coming out of your room at the school, the administration building, and holding this public meeting, because my husband and I moved back to Missoula 5 years ago. And I feel like the University of Montana and all this tailgating and all this liquor with this tailgate. My husband and I, the last 2 homecomings, have had to drive campus drive so we could get to the north end of the downtown, the farmers market and that. And here was in the sign this last year, a sign that said, "This campus is a tobacco-free campus." And next to it was a huge Budweiser beer truck delivering cases of beer to the tailgaters. Now, I think the same thing could be said to the tailgaters as the president of the university said to the Foresters Ball. Make it a party, make it a family thing. You can cook your good food, but you don't have to serve liquor. I just think these children that are coming with their parents to these tailgaters are seeing all these people drinking. They're in the stadiums drinking, and I was part of the ribbon for breast cancer survivors, and I just gave my ticket away and went home. I was so disgusted.
Thank you. Now, we do have a representative here from the university. Is that something you'd feel comfortable in addressing? Because I hate to put this on your shoulders, I'm sorry, but I would appreciate it if you could just say something.
Well, the thing I would say is, I think we're aware, especially with new President Engstrom, that the culture needs to be changed and that we need to do something affirmative that indicates to young people that if they are of age to drink, that they drink responsibly, as opposed to the current culture, which is to excess. And so I don't want to be defensive about it. I hear what you're saying. There is an article that came out in the paper, I think yesterday, that addresses a plan that a group of students have come up with to change the way the Forester's Ball is approached. So we don't know how that's going to go, if the president's going to even accept the plan. But it's a movement in the right direction. So I agree with what you're saying.
All right. Yes, go ahead. Oh, and in the back, we have... Go ahead, yes. Just first name, please, sir.
Hi, my name's Don. Actually, a little more. My name's Don Damshin. I'm a physician at St. Pat's Hospital. I cover trauma for general surgery. And I spoke on this topic at a trauma conference this last weekend. I just want to...
If you could speak up a little bit, we're having a little...
I just want to say a couple of things.
Perfect.
First of all, I agree entirely with the lady here that this is a culture that we have in our community, that we have an adult culture of drinking, which is profound. And that's probably where we need to most address this issue when it comes to exampling for the kids where we're going. I've been crusading on this issue for 10 years in Plains. I work at Clark Fork Valley Hospital as well. And we've taken a number of sort of efforts to try to do that. One is educating the adults in the community. And it's a really hard thing to walk into the VFW and talk to them about alcohol. You can walk in there and talk to them about methamphetamine all day long. But you break the ice with that, and then you go from there and start showing them the statistics and leading them over to, hey, alcohol is a problem as well, and it's a bigger problem than any of the rest of it. I happen to have been the general surgeon on, my condolences to the Millhouse family. I was the general surgeon on at St. Pat's that night, and a year later I was the general surgeon on when one of the other young men in that vehicle was killed. Trauma is a recurrent disease, and it's all alcohol related. And we need to address this as a culture, community-wide. And I applaud you all for being here to talk about the kids, but the kids are getting it from us adults.
Okay, thank you. This lady right back here who has her hand up right back there. Right back there. There you go. She's got her hand up way high. Go ahead. Your first name, please, ma'am. And please speak up.
My name is Candy. I was at a meeting like this 16 years ago. I'm 62. I have 6 children from 38 to 21 that grew up in Missoula, Montana. 16 to 17 years ago, maybe Mr. Ibsen and Mr. Muir might remember, there were a group of kids in this town that earnestly tried to get a place together called Zootown Club. Now, I grew up in the Chicago area. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Every weekend, we had a place to dance. And I've always believed that children are people too. And having 6 children and going through the Missoula society and culture from my 38-year-old down to my 21-year-old, I am appalled at what this community does. Everything, like this lady said and the doctor said, is alcohol, alcohol, alcohol. And then you put the pressure on the kids to be the ones that are the adults. As adults, our medicine cabinets, not mine, are filled with Prozac, Zoloft, and all sorts of drugs because we have stress. We have to work. Both parents have to work. And those pills sit in that cabinet, and then you tell your child, you're not allowed to take those pills. But then if your child has a problem in school, they're put on Ritalin. I don't know what to do. I tried doing something 16 years ago, and everything that I hit was adverse. Every single corner was, We can't have those children together. We had over 300 kids from 13 to 21 at a party that we put together. We had graffiti. You know who managed that? Football players. Big football players. I can remember one young man arguing with one of those big football players, but I won't do anything. And he said, nope, you're not coming in. We have treated our kids like babies. I spent 3 months in India.
Okay, Candy, we got to...
Okay. And I think it's time to start treating our kids like adults and talking to them like adults. But how can we talk to them like adults when we don't act like adults?
Okay, Candy, thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am, right here. Here, I'll just give you mine.
My name's Linda, and I think that, first of all, I thank Josh for bringing that up about making a database or something that's available for our children of all ages to know what's going on in the community so that as parents we can get them to these activities and events and those kinds of things. There's also an opportunity, I think, for us to encourage our kids to start volunteering in our community and giving back to what the people on the other side that are trying to protect them kind of give back to the community and be proud of the community that they participated in and have an opportunity to grow up in. Because I think Missoula is a great place. However, I just want to say one thing. This problem is bigger than Missoula, and it's bigger than Montana. And if you look at the national advertisements that are not only on TV, radio, newspapers, in the stores, all of the liquor that is advertised really is targeted to our kids. I thought vodka, for an example, was that hard, bitter tasting stuff. Well, it comes in cherry flavor, it comes in whipped cream flavor, comes in all of these great opportunities to drink, and our kids love it. And I think that maybe this is going to take a legislative act on our part to try to eliminate encouraging our kids to buy this, to attain it, and to drink it. And that is to cut down on the advertising that our kids are exposed to.
One of the ways that smoking ceased to be the in thing is, if you remember about 40 years ago, Congress said no more cigarette advertising on radio or television. None. I don't think that would work with alcohol. It's a pretty powerful lobby, but I don't know. It's just an idea. All right, another question, another comment. Yes. Go ahead, if you could. Thank you. Just your first name, please, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jen, and there's 3 of us here from Project Success, and we're actually in the schools doing underage drug and alcohol prevention every day with these students. And our biggest problem is funding. Our funding, you know, everybody wants to do so much, and we're trying so hard, and we do make a difference, but the funding is just cut. It's just gone. You know, it just goes away so quickly, and I know so many people that deal with that, and they have some other things I want to say too. So.
I'm Devery, and I'm out at Frenchtown High School, and we address a lot of the things that have been brought up during what we call prevention education, where we go into freshman and sophomore health classes.
Could you speak up just a little bit, please?
Yeah. We go into freshman and sophomore health classes and talk about things like how the media targets kids, and how we talk to them about, you know, their blood alcohol content and how it affects their brains. So, I mean, there's some of that in the schools, but we're not there enough. We're only 20 hours a week because of, you know, funding. So, and hopefully we'll be in schools next year. But
where do you get your funding from?
The prevention mill levy.
Okay. Which is not very big. That's right. Okay. The gentleman right there with the purple shirt. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My name, excuse me. My name is Ryan, and I work with Missoula Parks and Recreation. And I just, that woman brought up the idea of teens volunteering and giving back to their community. And I just want to let everybody here know that we've got a lot of opportunities for kids ages 13 to 16, and even a little older, to do that throughout the summer, helping in our youth camps, helping with our aquatics programs. It's a great program. They learn really good job skills, how to put together a resume, and obviously it keeps them away from doing things we don't want them to do. So.
Yeah, we got a long summer ahead of us. So, the gentleman right there with his hand up, yes, on the row there.
My name's George, and I'm just a parent of a teenager. And I want to follow up on one statistic that I saw earlier, where about a third or so of the alcohol kids get from the home. And that means 2/3 of the alcohol does not come from the home, and it's purchased. And periodically, I guess young kids go in and try and buy alcohol at bars, etc. And periodically you hear about these bars getting fined. But I don't hear that very often, and I see all these bars, none of them have been closed, none of them have been subject to serious sanction. So where are these kids getting the alcohol? Are they buying it from package stores? Are they going to bars? Why are they not getting carded more regularly? How are they obtaining this alcohol?
Well, George, let's, Brad, do you want to tackle it? Where's Brad Giffen? Brad is the captain with the Sheriff's Office. I know that you guys do alcohol compliance checks all the time, so maybe you can help answer his question.
Yeah, I won't talk to how they do it in the city. We just started our compliance checks, and what we do is we have some underage people who are obviously underage, 16 years, 17 years of age. They go in with their own ID, and they try to purchase alcohol. And then the really surprising thing for us is we just started this, and our first compliance check, we had 5 failures, and every single one of them looked at the driver's license. Every single one of them. Our program to date has we've only done 2 compliance checks. We've had 6 failures, but all 6 have actually looked at the driver's license. And I don't know how much you know about driver's licenses in Montana, but if they're underage, the profile's different, and by the picture it says not 21 until this date. So it's really difficult for us to figure out what's going on there. The other place that they're getting them is they're having people who are of age that are their friends buy for them. And quite frankly, you would be shocked at the number of parents that we contact when we have kids who are drinking who said, well, you should be out doing something else instead of writing my son or my daughter a ticket for MIP. So it is a big cultural thing. They get their alcohol from a lot of different sources, from homes, from retail shops, and we're just trying to start educating people on that.
If I could ask Fred Van Valkenburg a quick question here. Fred, what happens, what are the penalties for somebody who provides alcohol to a minor? I mean, if you could just kind of cover that real quick. Fred Van Valkenburg is our county attorney.
Providing alcohol to a minor on a first offense would be a misdemeanor that would be, I think, punishable by a potential of 6 months in the county jail and a $500 fine. In practice, though, almost all people like that would get a probationary sentence where they would not be sentenced to jail. They would maybe pay a $250, $300 fine and be put on probation to see if they complied with the conditions of probation.
In addition to that, it's kind of important to know that the license holder is also fined by the Department of Revenue. And a number of different times they'll actually revoke their license.
Yeah, how many times does it take to fail that to get your license revoked?
I believe it's 4.
4 times, okay. A lady back there with your hand up, standing, if you could take the microphone to her. And your first name, please, ma'am.
My name's Virginia, and I've been concerned. I'm just a concerned parent, a community member. I've had an idea about trying to get underage kids home safely, because we know there's kids out there who are underage. They're drinking and driving and smoking, and they get into trouble because they're kids. And what I'd like to see is a program started to get these kids home safely. It's gone through, I've come up with various ideas. My latest idea is a safe shuttle home, and the initials would be SSH, because kids want to get home anonymously. And what I tell my kids, and what I'm thinking is that you could call this safe shuttle to come get you if you're underage, anytime, any place, for whatever reason, no questions asked, free of charge. And so I'm I've been working on this, and I think it's a rather complicated because there's insurance issues involved and there's parental consent issues involved. But I think that what I would like to do is propose this as a solution to getting underage kids home safely and off the road and prevent them from being behind the wheel when they're intoxicated. Give them an alternative. And so what I would like to know is if there is community support for such an idea.
I tell you what, when we're done, she's standing right back there with the tan jacket. If you would like to visit with her, that's great. Jayton, you've got your hand up. I'll just give you mine. Toss it over. He's got good hands. He could catch it.
I'm Jayton, and you know, just listening to everyone speak and the wonderful ideas and the concerns, it almost appears that it comes back to the parent again. And I know we hinted on that a few other times, but I would like to go ahead and pressure it even more. I mean, obviously we all care here, and we're almost like, you know, speaking to the people who already care. What about the people who do not care, our friends, our neighbors, the people who are kind of iffy on bringing up that topic to? Those are the opportunities that I feel that we need to speak to other parents with those children. Obviously, you should know who your child is hanging out with. Those are the parents that maybe you need to reach out to, become better acquainted with, and again, take that responsibility on yourself to reach out to that neighbor, fellow parent, or whatnot. So I guess just raising that pressure one more level.
Thanks, Jayton. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm a peer health educator. I went through a training to become a peer health educator, and we basically just go to other college students and educate them on various topics. Alcohol is a big one that we obviously address. And actually, I've talked to Brandy earlier about how this is a college town. Everybody goes to the football games, and a lot of pressure is put on college students, especially like how we talked about tailgating and stuff. And so I feel like maybe college students could step up a little bit, and we can maybe be the people that are going into the high schools and teaching high schoolers about substance abuse. I know that when I was in high school, I was like in the party scene and everything, and it really didn't hit me until I got into college when I actually started having friends get DUIs, getting in drunk driving accidents, sexual assaults, and it's something that you don't really think about in high school, but I think college students can relate because we're only 4 years different most of the time. So if we could maybe be the people educating the high schoolers as well as the college students, and even going to like parents and stuff too and educating them. It's something that like I just thought of recently, and I'm graduating, so it kind of sucks that I can't be the person to do that, but I would really like if other college students would do it, yeah. So there's other college students here sitting with me too, and I know that college students that I work with are also really passionate about it and would want to do it, so maybe just reaching out to them to kind of help with that would be awesome.
Thank you. Okay, now this lady had your hand up, so go ahead.
I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for being here. My name's Carrie Watkins. I'm married to a beer wholesaler. I also sit on the MUSAP Coalition and am on the DUI task force, and it is devastating, the things. I moved here 6 years ago that I see, and it is up to each of us, I think, to go to the parent that you know the kids are allowed to drink at that house. If you know an older brother or sister at the U is buying alcohol for her younger or his younger siblings, it's up to us to talk to those people, and we have to be the change agents. And it has to start with us. And I do have a question. Brandy and DUI Task Force, Lonnie, you guys all worked on a social host ordinance. And I want to know, has anything come of it? Has it made any difference?
Let's talk to our city councilors here. Brad? Okay. Mr. Wilkins. It's John, right? John, go ahead.
You know, I couldn't hear all the whole question back here.
Ask about the social host ordinance. What's the status?
Well, we're still working on the social host ordinance, I think, but we did get some progress out of it. And one is we stiffened up the fine for not taking a breathalyzer, which helps us, you know, get more convictions, et cetera, at court. So we're still working on the social ordinance. I think Lonnie could probably answer some of that. I think she was around here.
Give her a mic.
We can't hear you without the microphone.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to point out in this packet that was put together, there's a bit of information about the Missoula social host ordinance. And I would let Lonnie talk, but she's having that problem. There's a $100 fine plus court costs, which may not be suspended. And this is, I think that the social host was about providing the location. Is that correct? Am I correct on that? So it wasn't necessarily about providing the alcohol, but if you provide the location to have the party that has the alcohol, then you as a parent or adult are going to be in trouble with the law.
Yeah,
So,
John, go ahead and finish your point.
So the biggest point I guess I wanted to make is it's part of Montana culture. I was born here. I was born in Great Falls, and I remember what Great Falls was like. And one of my best friends when I went to Vietnam died in a horrific car accident, all because of alcohol. I had a stepdad who died of alcohol, who brought one of the first computers on the Maelstrom Air Force Base. So it wasn't like he didn't have a brain. He just could never quit. And we show that to our kids as we're growing up. I think the biggest thing in my family's life is how we didn't push our kids out the door and tell them to go play at the neighbor's house. We had the neighbor's kids over at our house. And it kept going like that through two of my kids. And yeah, they had problems here and there, but we also made them suffer the consequences of their problems. A lot of parents are trying to get kids out of their problems, and that's not always the best thing to do. But it really comes down to us parents. Yes, can us parents use help? Yes, we can in different ways. Unfortunately, when you have a kid, you don't get directions with it. So you got to figure this out yourself. And it really comes down to the parents that how they're going to treat them kids when they grow up. So don't be one of those that pushes your kids to the neighbor's house. Be one of those that have the neighbor's kids over at your house. You'll know what's going on.
Thanks, John. It's John Wilkins. Okay, another hand raised right there. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Cassie. Excuse me. I just wanted to kind of address the conversation about, looking at a way to transport our kids or give them an option to transport. I just wanted to point out that my son, 18 years old, knew he could call me anytime, anywhere. He knew that. Because of the alcohol, he made the wrong decision. To me, that isn't the answer. I talked to my son. My son worked. He went to school. I don't know where he found time to even party, but he did. So I guess I'm going to go back to educating the adults and the adults educating their children. I think that's where it's going to have to end. And I'd like to point out, too, the meth program. Why can't we do something like that with alcohol? It seems to me that the meth program...
Because most adults don't use meth.
Well, true, but I mean the education part of it.
Okay, I understand.
Getting that out into the community, about, I don't know. I guess I'm just throwing that out there because it seems like the meth program sure made a difference.
Yeah, you find out what works and you try to copy it.
Right.
Now, Jean, you had a comment. Jean Curtis, go ahead.
Just a couple. I think that the issues at the university recently have woken us all up a little. So I'd like to suggest a couple things. One is I would love to see our Grizzly athletes be models rather than see their names in the paper for things like being at parties. I know in high school you sign a thing saying that you won't drink and do different things, so maybe our athletes could do that. The other is I'm always concerned when I read about these young people who have been assaulted because of being given a drug in their alcohol or whatever, and I continue to say to myself, somebody, one of their friends, had to have known as they stumbled out of the building that that person wasn't in control, and why aren't we watching out for our friends? So I hope that we can do that. Another is the deal about advertising towards our kids. It's really interesting. Our health department, I serve on the health board, and I think Erica's here tonight with her stuff about all the tobacco products that are geared toward kids. I don't think the Marlboro man ever looked forward to having a grape-flavored cigarette. But they're out there, only they aren't cigarettes, because cigarettes you can't advertise, but cigarellos you can. So all you have to do is wrap it in brown paper. And I've learned so much, and the health department has done a wonderful job of putting together a brochure showing all of these things. You know the little deals that you can buy, the Listerine thing you put in your mouth and it melts on your tongue? They have those that are plumb full of nicotine, and they're the equivalent of 3 to 10, depending on what you're getting, whether it's in a mint, cigarettes, and they could kill a baby. And guess what a baby's going to do if they see that cute little thing that looks like a Tic Tac? They're going to die. But we, in our lovely legislation that we have, it doesn't address those things. It only talks about cigarettes. And guess who one of the biggest lobbyists are? Those darn tobacco lobbyists. So we need to be stronger in that, too, and make sure that our legislators and our Congress know it's not acceptable. If you think about who the advertising was geared at when my dad smoked cigarettes. He smoked Lucky Strike. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. I can still remember that. The other one was Camels. You walk a mile for a camel. So guess what? I was the kid, but I still remember those goofy things. So they really are, but now they're all geared towards kids because the people that smoked a long time are dying off, so you got to give them when they're young. So, and I agree, we should not be watching, the Super Bowl and you wait to see what the Budweiser ad looks like. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. Okay, there's a lady back there, with the gal with her hand up towards the end of the aisle there. We're getting close to 8 o'clock here, so we don't want to stay too terribly long. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Doreen, and I'm here as a parent of 2 teenage boys. And I have been astounded throughout the years of them being in school by the lack of supervision that kids get. And I feel like I'm the bad parent because I say no. And I call the other parent and say, this is what my son told me they're doing tonight. Is that what they're doing? And it is so hard. And sometimes I feel like we're not getting anywhere. And my oldest son just got his driver's license. And we have rules about that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do we get us parents to communicate with each other, listen to each other? Do we need some kind of a system or rules given to us as parents? I feel like I have these rules in my head, and I feel like all of us should have these rules in our head. And I suppose that's idealistic, but those are my thoughts.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, right here. The lady with her hand up, right next to, there you go, right next to Lonnie.
My name's Tina, and my son passed away 4.5 years ago riding in a car with a drunk driver. My son was also drinking, but he was also 27, so he's not in the quite age group that most of you guys are talking about. But I think that one thing that I get really frustrated with is it's the culture. It's the Montana way. I guess until you go through something like this, you don't realize that my family's culture and my family's way totally changed the night that he was in the accident. We don't have that culture thing anymore. We don't have, the liberty of you know, going out and having a glass of wine when we have dinner or whatever, because that's not our culture. And I guess I just get really frustrated with the culture. It's the culture of Montana. It's the way the university is. Why do those things have to be that way? Why does it have to hit home before we start changing the culture?
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. This gentleman right here in the middle of the row. Go ahead, please. Your first name, please, sir.
My name is Max, and I'm a senior here at Sentinel. And I know a lot of the people around the halls here either believe or say that marijuana is healthier or a safer alternative to tobacco. I was wondering if someone here could maybe clear the smoke on that issue, please.
All right, we have a medical professional here who can address that. Just raise your hand. Anyone? Yeah, right here. Okay, go ahead. Your first name, please.
Charmel Owens, Ravalli County Drug-Free Communities
Oh, great,
Program.
wonderful. Glad you're here.
The reality is that in those olden days of the 50s and 60s, when your parents were doing marijuana, the THC levels were really very low. Now, those levels are 3 to 4, sometimes 5, 6 times greater. And so you are putting your brain at bigger risk than your parents ever dreamed of. So when parents say, we just smoked a little pot when we were younger, look, we're fine. Well, that's not going to be the case with you and your generation either. And the latest statistics tell us that, sadly but truthfully, you kids who are using more potent drugs, more potent marijuana, and alcohol at a younger and younger age are no longer going to outlive your parents. And it is a big tragedy.
So you can share that. Oh, go ahead. Carl Ibsen, go ahead.
You know, another thing to think of is that statistics indicate to us, you know, I'm not sure if where you're going was, gosh, it's a lot safer to do marijuana than drink. Statistics tell us that 50% of the drivers who are alcohol impaired that kill someone are also marijuana impaired. Such was the case with the guy 2.5 years ago that killed my wife. He was not only drunk, but he was high on his way over here. 25-year-old young man that learned it in high school. It's not like we can take one or the other. Both are bad. If you have smaller amounts of each one in your system, which about 50% of the drivers who kill people have, excuse me, the amount isn't necessary, the amount of either alcohol or THC isn't necessary to be at a dangerous level, because the two interacting with each other, I don't know if they call it additive or cumulative or synergist? Okay, that's a good word. They react far more than just either one of them by themselves, and there's a ton of folks out there getting killed because of that. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Carl. Yes, go ahead, Brandy.
Okay, I was going to try very hard not to speak, but it's hard when you work on these issues every day, and all of the experts are doing a great job. But I just have some colleagues that work on really hard issues with prescription drugs. And every time I go to work, I think about something that, you're right, it's in our home. So our kids see us drink because it's legal for us. And they don't always know what responsible behavior is. They don't know that mommy sat at dinner for 3 hours and had a glass of wine. And same with prescription drugs, and that's what made me think of it when you talk about marijuana, that when you have a state that says it's medical, it's hard to have the discussion when your prescription drugs, whatever they might be, and you're taking them every day. It's hard to say to your kid, but they're not for you, but I need them, or your alcohol. And I really appreciate the awareness that's trying to be put out there about prescription drugs, because I think if we don't start tackling that conversation with 11% of our kids using prescription drugs, we might be back here in a year with that number being doubled. But I think we can use all substances with the same conversation, and it's about how you use them and the conversation you have with your kids. So with prescription drugs, we talk about, lock them up, because they see you using them and they think they're candy. Or they think they make you feel better. so they're just going to make me feel better. But I think it's harder for people to accept that's what our kids see about alcohol too, that when we go fishing, we drink. When we have a win at Little League Baseball, we drink. And so I'll just tell you, because we're at the family dinner table, it's a struggle. But I agree with Tina 100% that you can change the culture in your own family, and then you can kind of see how your kids start changing that culture. But I just didn't want to forget about prescription drugs, because that's, marijuana and prescription drugs in our community people still think they're one and the same.
There's also a wonderful program that I know that in the city police department there is a drop box where folks can bring their oldest prescription drugs. One of the worst things that you can do is when you're done taking your prescription and you haven't finished it, you leave it up in the medicine cabinet or wherever, and it's there for 2-3 years. The thing to do is take it to the police station, drop it off, and they'll dispose of it. Because if it's there, it's a temptation. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, we have time for a couple more comments. Yes, Karen, go ahead.
I just want to, who's the mom back here that spoke? This is a good mom. Okay? And you need to be reminded, everybody needs to be reminded that your kids are listening to you, although it seems like they're not. They really do listen to you, and you really are the example. And I know that if I should happen to see your child in court, that you're going to be the parent that's back there, yes, take his license, yes, do this, yes, show them consequences. Because quite frankly, if the kids aren't learning consequences in the family, they're going to learn them from Judge Odlin and I. That's what's going to happen. And we see the kids that don't have the parents that care, or the parents that aren't able to care for whatever reason. And it's really a tough job. It's a tough job being a parent. It's a tough job trying to get these kids turned around. And that's what we do every day. And I just have to say that thank you for doing your job, because it makes my job that much more pleasant.
Thanks, Judge Orzik. This lady right here, black sweater, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Tracy, and I work in the high school. I work at Hellgate High School. And I just really wanted to commend the one student that has so far actually spoken up, because I think it's really, that's a voice that people are not hearing right now, is that he actually tried to vaguely tell everybody in this room what people in high school are saying. And I think we as educators and parents need to listen to what our kids are telling us, what is happening in their schools, in their classrooms, in their locker rooms, because that's, kids talk to other kids. They don't actually go to an expert and ask them that question. And so I think that the more awareness we have with Project Success and experts coming in and listening to and giving that information, because as parents, we don't necessarily have that information. I think it's very important, and the conversations I've had with parents at our school is that one of the most important things you can do is talk to your kids. Listen to your kids. You're driving them around, you're listening to music. You say, what are they talking about? God, people sure talk about weed all the time in these songs. What does that mean? Do you hear about that? What do you think about it? Do you have a lot of friends that use that?
Not me, Mom.
Yeah. Well, they will say, not me, Mom, but then they'll look at you to see what your reaction is. Because if you say, well, my God, if I ever find out, blah, 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 you'll never leave the house again. Granted, you will never hear about that, ever. So I'm just saying, as parents in this room, if you cared enough to come here tonight, I know that you are the parents that are listening to your kids and talking to your kids, and I highly encourage you to continue to do that, and absolutely continue to talk to other parents, because I know that that has been the voice of the parents at our school, which is we want to know where our kids are, and we don't want to be seen as the bad parent for actually calling and saying, hey, so-and-so says that they're coming to your house, and you find out that you're one of 20 only the one of 20 kids whose parents called. You end up feeling like a bad parent. So I'm just saying, I think, thanks for bringing it up, because I'm sure there's lots of other things that he hears and that he's not saying. So this is a pretty intimidating group.
That was the safe one, right, Matt? Yeah, that was the safe one. Okay, so go ahead.
Jen, Project Success again. I just wanted to say one of the biggest things I hear daily from our kids is I just want somebody to set boundaries. And it's crazy coming from high school kids. I mean, that's really their thing. They're like, no one cares. Why should I care? And that's what they're telling us. That's what they're, and you know, we can care from 8 to 5, you know, but we're not there all the time, and it's the parents that are, so.
I think if there's one thing that we can take from this meeting, if there's just one thing, and there's a hand back there, so while the mic is traveling, as parents, is if we can, whether our kids are 3 or 30, you know, if we can sit down with them and say, look, I love you, I care about you, where are you right now? Where are you? What are you doing? What, you know, what's going on when I'm at work? And tell me, be honest, I'm not going to, you know, lower the boom on you. I want to know what you're doing, where you're going, because you're important to me. I love you. You are my life. So if we can just do that, you know, then I think we'll start the culture in our own homes, and then it'll start growing in other places. So go ahead.
My name is Roberta, and I am here as a parent, but also as a health educator. I'm a health enhancement teacher here at Sentinel. So I teach freshman and sophomore PE and health, and it is covered. I just wanted to let you know that it's not just Project Success that covers it. It is also covered in our health curriculum in the school district at the freshman level. So I'm not sure where Max was for those 3 weeks that we had our drug unit. Sorry, Max.
What's this about the teenage brain not being fully formed? Just kidding.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus. However, it is covered in the curriculum through the school district. So I just wanted to let you know, Project Success is here to deal with other issues also with kids, but it is covered through our curriculum. So, and I feel like I've been here for 4 years, and I've been teaching the drug unit for 4 years, and kids are, Carrie over there, our Project Success, between the two of us, she helped this year. It's covered very, very well here at Sentinel High School. The kids have all kinds of information and hopefully knowledge, but I keep telling them ultimately it comes down to your choice. So the information is there for them, available through the health curriculum. Thank you.
Go ahead, Brandy.
Two quick things. Having the privilege to watch the community and to be a part of so much that goes on in our community, I agree. I think the schools, parents, there's a lot of communication going on. But I also, Max, was it your name? I also think that even ourselves, we forget that sometimes you don't care about information until you care about information. So I remember when I was pregnant. Everybody had lots of information to give me. I had no idea what they were talking about. I wasn't a mom yet. I hadn't brought the baby home yet. And so I didn't listen. And I think whether our brains are fully developed or not, that's similar. And so it's wonderful, the education we do. We'll keep it up. We need to better support people that do the education. But we just don't know when you're going to need it. And I talk to parents that when they've lost somebody, they think they said the right things, but they didn't know when that would be that they needed that information. And so I support all of us that we don't necessarily pay attention till we need it, if that makes sense. Secondly, Philip had a question, but he wanted to film. His question is, what do you do if you have a neighbor who you know frequently has house parties with a lot of underage people, or frequently provides parties for their own children that are underage? And I don't know if Lieutenant Stepper or Chief Muir would like to answer that, because we do have, I think, a system that's pretty helpful.
Well, I can't say, well, Lieutenant Stepper with the Missoula Police Department. If you do have a neighbor that's having continuous parties, first off, call 911. And we respond to many, many parties. As the coordinator for UDL, just like Brad for the Sheriff's Department, we track all of that information. We have a quality of life officer for the city of Missoula. His job is specific to deal with neighborhood problems and issues. And we track that information. And we actually, on a quarterly basis, evict many tenants in the city of Missoula for having house parties. So if you're having that continuous problem, we have a quality of life officer, and he can assist you in those particular matters. Chief?
And that actually was the basis of coming forward with the social host ordinance as well. And so the proponents of social host were seeking to deal exactly with that particular question and issue for individuals who were hosting parties. It got a little watered down by the time it was all said and done, and I refer to it now as a teen party ordinance as opposed to a social host, because it only applies to providing a place for underage individuals to drink if they are under age 18. So essentially, it is just our teenagers that are directly involved in that. And perhaps someday we'll be able to revisit that. I wanted to take just one quick chance to sort of further what Roberta and Max had going here, because one of the issues that always comes up is we teach it, and we teach it well. Trust me, I know we teach it well. I know what the lessons have. I spent many years, several years as a school resource officer in our district here, and had the opportunity to participate in those classes at all 3 high schools. And so I know that our curriculum is solid. But what Max is pointing to is the fact, and I heard him say it, people are saying, you know, the talk in the halls is it's not as bad, okay? And that is, we have to recognize that there is a competing message there. Just like there is a competing message when I'm at the legislature talking to them about repealing medical marijuana, and I come back to Missoula and I am thrown under the bus, just like you, Max, okay? So, fortunately, there are folks around here who know CPR, okay? We're good. It's okay. The issue that comes up time and time again, and there is a strong lobby out there, folks, right now with respect to marijuana legalization and medical marijuana. I can't tell you how to vote because I'm prohibited from campaigning on issues that are on ballot issues, and those are coming up on the ballot, so I'm not going to talk to you about that. But I am going to say to you that just like our children, you need to listen carefully and consider carefully where you're getting your messages from. I was very disappointed a few weeks ago to hear that a very significant evangelist in our country came on board with the folks for legalizing marijuana and said, well, you know, I think maybe these people are right. I think we should just control it, regulate it like we do alcohol. Folks, I'm here to tell you, we're not doing a very damn good job with alcohol, okay? So we need to think seriously about that. And I just gave a lecture, and I'm sorry, but
hey, you're part of the family too.
Hey, I was in a bus accident.
Give me that microphone, mister. Okay, yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rochelle. I'm a sophomore at Frenchtown, and like Randy, you guys were saying that we're taught all this stuff. Like, it does stay in our brains, but like, as they were saying, we watch our parents do or drink alcohol, well, not me personally, and we watch our parents take the drugs, but I think half the reason that some of these kids are doing it is because they want to feel more mature or older. They want to be grown up. And so I think that if we were just to like teach them that being grown up doesn't mean you have to be drunk all the time, if we just taught them that there's more to being grown up than all that, that it would really make a huge difference.
Thank you. Beautifully said. Okay, we're almost out of time, and so I just want to say thank you to all of you who came tonight, to all of our local experts and law enforcement folks who made themselves available to be here tonight. Thank you, thank you. If we can have a round of applause for them, really, thank you. And if I could leave you with one thought, it might be this, and that is drink responsibly an oxymoron? Just leave that. I'll just leave that with you.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just a couple more minutes. This is amazing. Thank you so very much. If I could ask Captain Giffen, Chief Muir, Sheriff Ibsen, I already see Catherine, Virginia, was Michelle just standing back there? Carrie and Megan, if you could please go out in the lobby, and Krista, if you could go out in the lobby right now, please, that would be wonderful. Krista will give you instructions. Don't worry, it's not.
This sounds serious.
I know. Notice I involve law enforcement. Well, maybe. I'm going to count to 3.
It's okay.
1.
They have tasers. It's okay.
In my house, it would go like this. I'm really going to count to 3 now. Judge Orzik, before I closed, did you have something you wanted to say?
If either of you were sentenced to be here tonight, you need to see me before you leave. You know who you are.
That's Judge Karen Orzik.
I noticed she didn't make you stand. So we've had a wonderful, I think we've had a wonderful evening. I know people are tired and ready to get home to their other lives, but I just have a few more things that I'd like to say in closing. First, I really didn't want to sound like a PSA, but people have to be thanked. I mean, this is an amazing community with a lot of people that care and love each other and our kids. And so I'm going to thank people. So first, Peter, thank you. I knew you were the right man for the job, and I appreciate your support on this issue and this cause.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Anytime.
Miss Lonnie, thank you very much to the DUI Task Force for helping fund this evening. Sentinel High School and Missoula County Public Schools. I told the principal earlier, I think, Mr. Blakely, I think I fired you because I want a job here. This school has been unreal in your support, and Missoula County Public Schools in general, it's been amazing, and I thank you for that very much. Okay, now I'm going to thank a few other people, and you're all important, but we're not going to clap anymore, so we can move on. Okay, ready? So City Brew was very kind to provide the coffee for us tonight. Zip Beverage was very generous in providing the other beverages. I couldn't have done this without amazing coworkers that gave a lot of time and energy on already full plate. The MUSAP members, you're unreal to work with, and the passion that you have for our community is overwhelming every day, and it's a pleasure to work with you. The committee members that worked beyond anything I could have imagined to make this night happen, and I appreciate that. Community leaders, I appreciate you for being here. But the reality is we're all leaders in this because we're leaders to somebody, whether it be ourselves, our coworkers, our neighbors, and so I just can't thank you enough for coming. I'm almost done. I really am appreciative for the Students Against Destructive Decisions, the SAD group at Frenchtown, for being here, and other high school students for taking your time to be here and to speak. We appreciate that, and we know we need to listen more, and so we're going to keep working on that. I also, just real quick, wanted to thank the Missoulian and Town Square Media, KECI, and KPAX. It's unreal the support that they've given to make sure that there is awareness about this topic, and that it's not always just the bad things, that there's not always just media when something tragic happens, and I appreciate that. So a couple of things before we leave tonight. Y'all came. You're all wondering, so is anything big going to happen tomorrow? Are we going to change our culture? Are we going to decrease this problem tomorrow? Maybe not. But I believe strongly that if you're going to give your time, you deserve to leave with some concrete steps. So I'm just going to tell you real quickly. I promise they're quick. I remember how to do this. I don't remember how to do this. You're gonna get it. So the people out there that I told to leave, they are going to pass out for you a postcard. And on it is concrete steps that you can do tonight. Because you can start right away, and you're probably already doing them. Eat dinner with your family more often. Believe it or not, it reduces alcohol and drug use. Simple. It doesn't matter what you're eating. Just eat dinner together at a table. That helps. I want to recognize somebody that's doing something right away. Zoe Melhoff is in the room, and she is a senior at Big Sky High School. And much like the SAD students at Frenchtown, She's taken it on as her senior project to have an awareness campaign in May about underage drinking and driving. And she just decided to do it. And she has a lot of help from her mom. So Zoe, thank you for doing that. The other thing that I want people to know is that I was writing down most of everything that I could write down. And MUSAP and other partners are working on an educational series to launch in September. So this conversation can keep going, because I think that's what's most important. Again, the conversation has been going on for a long time, but I guess I have to believe we're in a position that the conversation is different. There is more happening. Things have changed, and believe it or not, I'm old enough to say things have changed, and we're going to keep progressing towards that change because we care so much. So I'm a big proponent of doing something immediately. I told you to turn off your phones earlier. I know you did. Now you can get them out, and right away if you want, you can like Missoula Forum for Children and Youth on Facebook. Get updates about what's going on. Get stats. Get real live information, expert reports. We can address, ask some questions. We can address some real questions that people have. So like us on Facebook, please. So as you leave tonight, just remember that you are that one person, and you will and have make a difference in somebody's life, and we really, really appreciate you for doing so. When you leave, please say thank you or hello or good evening to a MUSAP member, and they will hand you a postcard of something you can do right away tonight. Thank you very, very, very much.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.